Joining us today is Robert Hamilton Owens. Robert has been a radio and television personality, a minister, philanthropist, triathlete, special ops pararescueman, to name a few. But one title best describes him: the fittest and mentally toughest 66-year-old in the world. His book, Beyond Average, details his experience with 5 major endurance events, all of which he achieved at the age of 65, and hopefully inspires readers to achieve what they may have once believed to be impossible. For more info or to purchase his book, you can visit his website, roberthamiltonowens.com, which we will include in the description link when we post this interview. Robert, can you tell me a little bit more about your book and what made you decide to chronicle your 65th year in written form?
You know, I wanted to see if I could grow older and stronger at the same time. I wanted to do a personal experiment as an old Ironman triathlete to see if weight training would make a difference as I was entering towards my 70s. And so I wanted to then do a personal experiment where I would challenge myself to do things that I was told was impossible for an old guy. So they said, "You're too old to do it, don't do it." I said, that's the reason I probably want to do it. So I chronicled 3 years of training, working out at SEAL Fit in Encinitas, California, as well as with my CrossFit coach and gym in San Juan Capistrano. And I trained to see if I could get as strong as I had been in my 20s when I was a U.S. Air Force pararescueman. And it was a fun personal experiment to see if seniors can age gracefully and if they can not just fade out, but they can go out strong. So the book is about attempting 5 things, 4 of which I was the oldest to ever attempt them, and then to tell young people that there is 20 times more potential in them or in anybody than anyone understands. And so when I train Air Force Special Ops or Special Warfare candidates or Navy SEAL candidates, we say to them, there's so much more potential in you than you have any understanding, but you need someone to pull it out of you because you'll quit. And so I wanted to prove that at my age, there was still 20 times more potential in a senior, just like there's 20 times more potential in a young person. And I wanted to role model that. So if I'm going to work with young kids, I'm going to train young kids, I needed to be able to say, if I can do it and I'm old, what's your excuse? And they just look and they say, okay, Mr. Owens. And I say, so suck it up and deal, because you can do more than you think, whether it's a spelling bee or studying science or piano. You just need somebody to help you focus and stay on track so that you can accomplish goals that are extraordinary. So that's the purpose of the book. I guess I should say, I chose the name because I've always considered myself average. I was never a star athlete. I was never a big gun, never a star, never got a first place. But I was trained by my water polo and swim coach, John Urbanchek, who became the U.S. Olympic swimming coach down the road. He said, Robert, hard work can beat better talent. So if you'll focus on hard work and just stay in your lane, by the time you get to your goals, many of the good guys have already quit. The really talented and gifted people have quit because they didn't have the tenacity or the mental resiliency or toughness to stay in the game. So if you'll train, you can be more than average. And since high school, I've been having coaches say to me, hey, Owens, you know what? You're not average. Even though my head said, I'm just an average guy. You know, I never got a first place in anything. They said, you just need to focus because there's talent in you. Don't sweat comparing yourself to anybody else. You're not average. And so the book is a story of a life of going beyond being average when my head said, you're just average, don't try. And I would say, the reason that I accomplished the things that I've done is because when I did not have faith in myself, I had faith in those who had faith in me. And if they said I could do it, I'd say, okay, I guess I'll try. I'll trust you. And then lo and behold, I accomplished things that some said were wonderful. Not amazing, but I'll just say wonderful.
This moniker, the fittest and mentally toughest 66-year-old in the world, appears on the cover of your book. How did that title come about?
It's really not true. But it's nice to have someone say that. When I got done doing my 12th Ironman, and then I did the Navy SEAL Hell Week thing called Kokoro, 50 hours nonstop with Navy SEAL instructors. And then right after that, I did 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents. I got requested to come up to the LA Spartan Games at the LA Coliseum. And I got interviewed by Joe DeSena and his staff, who's the founder of the Spartan Games. And he turned to me and he said, "Owens, you're a beast." And I said, "Nah, Joe." And he goes, "You're the fittest and mentally toughest 66-year-old in the world." And when I looked at him, I said, "I'm at Spartan Games, and those guys are pretty tough." And he said, "No, there are kids in their 20s that haven't been able to do what you do. You're the fittest and mentally toughest 66-year-old in the world." And I said, "Whatever you say, Joe, I'll buy it." I don't know that it's true. I don't think it's true. But if Joe DeSena says that, I'll take it.
That's no small potatoes. So as a very fit and mentally tough 66-year-old, you now have a new adventure to add to your ever-growing list, which is, of course, that you've now beaten coronavirus. Can you talk a little bit about the process of finding out that you were sick and what your symptoms were?
I should say the adventure has been after, of course, someone says something nice to you, like you're the fittest and mentally toughest 66-year-old in the world. Right afterwards, I had a heart attack. And I thought, well, that's an interesting thing to do. And then after that, you get the virus. And I'm thinking, God, it's really hard to stay in shape. I have some goals planned. I have another Ironman planned for this year. And it's just been interesting fighting off this virus. And I'm hoping that maybe if I tell my story, the virus, I got it. And my doctor said to me, "Robert, it's a really good thing that you're in good shape. Your lungs are really good. You stayed aerobically and anaerobically strong, and it helps with fighting the virus." And sure enough, I got the virus. I all of a sudden began to feel off, like you just don't feel right. And then you get the achy skin stuff, and then you get the fever. And I just began to do some things that Mark Divine had taught years ago, which is about box breathing. Learning to do exercises on your lungs, and between the fever and drinking and sleeping and doing box breathing exercises and staying positive and focusing, I just said, this is just another adventure. And so I just worked myself through that to the point that after about 4 or 5 days, it felt like it was just the flu, and I've recovered. So I'm fortunate that being in good health gives you preventative medicine. And I try to encourage people that if they would invest at least an hour a day in their health, like they do their money for retirement, that investment in your health will do well when sickness comes. And let me just say, I learned this a long time ago. I'm an adult, and I have no family history. And so I would go to a doctor sometime and say, "Who am I?" And he'd say, "I don't know, it's a crapshoot. We don't know who you are. We'll discover." I said, "Am I going to lose my hair? Or, I got diabetes." And they said, "We don't know. But Robert, if you want to do something smart, you'll stay in good shape and healthy, because that's the best preventative medicine you can ever have." So part of my health insurance and my mental psyche is to stay in shape, because it gives me an edge if things come my way. And fortunately, when the virus came my way, I was in shape, and I just did what the doctor said, slept a lot, and I got through it. And many people will get through it. It's not a deal breaker. You don't have to just wither up and die. You just sort of fight it, you stay positive, you do what they say, and you come out of it.
Were you at all fearful when
How's
you
that?
received the diagnosis, or were you just confident that you would do your best to fight the symptoms of the illness?
I think life is full of challenges, and you can make a challenge easier, and you can make a challenge harder. I don't use the word problems. Life is full of problems. I don't have problems. I have challenges. Problems are negative. Challenges are positive. I don't have negative people in my life. I don't have negative circumstances. If something happens to me, it's just another challenge. And so I choose to look at life as a challenge, and it comes with all kinds of opportunities to grow. So when they tell you got the virus, you say, okay, I got a challenge. And that challenge is, how am I going to beat this thing? And what am I going to do? And so I took it as a challenge, and I said, this will be fun. I'm going to win. And so far I'm winning.
That's great. Do you have any words of encouragement to other people who might already be sick and are currently feeling nervousness or fear or anxiety about their symptoms?
You know, I just know that all of us face our challenges differently. Anxiety is a common thing. Panic, anxiety, fear, those are all common emotions. I try to, like I go to the gym physically, I have also what's called a mind gym. And the mind gym is where I go inside my mind and I learn to block out negativity. I learn to not live by fear. I learn from SEALFIT, my training with Mark Devine and SEALFIT, I've learned how to daily and hourly block out the negative dialogue that's in everyone's head. Everybody has a dialogue going on. And oftentimes we think that's our head and it's us, but it really isn't. It's just a dialogue in our head. And when we take control of our mind, then we can shut out the negative dialogue. And most people do not challenge that negative dialogue, and therefore that ticker tape just runs in our head and drives us into negativity and fear and panic and anxiety. So for years, I've been working on when those emotions come, which are legit, they're not legit to me because I don't want that tape playing in my brain. And I've learned to go into my mind gym and work out to block those emotions and get back on track and think my positivity and my overcoming this and my challenge so that I don't let those emotions take control of my life. And that takes some practice.
Mm-hmm. So having recovered fully, which we're very grateful for, what's next for you? What are your next adventures and challenges?
You know, I have set a goal for Memorial Day, which is when we at CrossFits around the United States, we do what is called the Murph. And the Murph is a physical exercise known for Michael Murphy, Medal of Honor winner. And that's a mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 air squats, and then another mile run 4 times. And if you do it military style, which I do, I put on a 20-pound weight vest. And so my goal now is to get back in shape to be able to do the Murph in May. Why? Just because I like doing it with the military guys to honor our veterans. And then I'm looking forward with my son-in-law to doing my 13th Ironman in November, if everything goes right. And it's always fun to be out on the course and be out there as an old guy and look at all the young guys and say, hey, stud, what's up? And they look at you like, what are you doing out here? And I say, what are you doing out here? I've been doing this for 40 years. What's your issue? And they just go, really? I said, yeah, I've been doing this since I was 27, back when we did it in Honolulu in year 3. So it's fun to dialogue with these young, really studly young triathletes as an old guy. And I'm looking forward to being around. See, I spend time with young people. I don't have many friends my age, because if I spend time with people my age, they tell me how sick I am or how weak I am or what kind of medications I'm taking or what doctor do I go to or do I have a walker yet? And so I just don't spend time with anybody pretty much my age. And I spend time with young people and they keep me young. So being around young people training, it's fun for me. And it gives me great satisfaction, not in just doing it, but the journey leading up to it, because I eat better, I sleep better, I feel better, I'm having fun, and I don't want to grow fat and old. And so I want to grow out. If I'm going to go out old, I want to go out in shape like I helped my father to be.
You mentioned that it takes a lot of
You should smile a lot.
I try. You mentioned that takes some practice to build your mental gym and to strengthen yourself internally, just like it does externally. For people who are starting to struggle with quarantine and being away from human contact, do you have any words of encouragement or advice for people who are maybe having a mentally difficult time with the current situation?
You know, I think being alone can either bring the worst out in you or it can bring the best out in you. And for me, it's another challenge of, okay, now what skills do I need to learn to not make everybody miserable around me because I'm stuck in a room by myself or with them. I don't want to ruin somebody else's life because I'm having issues. So I look for things that I can learn, I can read, I can study. I'm hoping to finish my second book. This gives me great opportunity to just focus and finish this second book, which will be called probably Dream Big, Train. I would just say if I can focus on things that I can learn during this time, it keeps me positive and it keeps me focused versus just thinking about me all the time and what I'm not able to do. It's like, how can you make a quarantine work for you versus it being a terrible thing? How can I make this quarantine something that when I'm done, I say, I used my time wisely and I also encouraged other people and I didn't make my world small all about me. I looked at how can I encourage other people who have it much worse than I do.
That's wonderful advice. Robert, thank you so much for your time today. Best wishes on completing your second book. And for anyone watching, if you're interested in learning more about Robert or purchasing his first book, please visit roberthamiltonowens.com. We'll put a link in the description. Robert, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Sarah.